Welcome to Casual Watch Talk, the podcast from the Casual Watch Reviewer YouTube channel. Join us as we talk everything watches, from watch collecting, the latest horology news and interviews. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe on your favourite podcast app. Let's dive into the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to Casual Watch Talk. This is episode 51 and a big happy new year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
We had a little break over the festive period, but we're back, ready for action.
I feel like I didn't leave because I kind of didn't leave.
No, we're in a disarray here as well because we're going to be moving to Florida. I think I've told people on the Facebook group, but I currently live in California. We're going to be moving to Florida, so everything's in boxes. Although we're going to try and move by plane, which is interesting logistically.
So ship all your stuff and then chase it there.
Yes, because we figured that this is the thing, that being from the UK, there's certain things that you can't comprehend in your mind, and distance is one of those for me. Like, there's nowhere in the UK you couldn't really drive to within 6 hours from Manchester.
Right, yeah.
Whereas I was just joking with you, wasn't I? If you drove 13 hours, you would be in Croatia.
Or the ocean. You'd be in Spain or the sea. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
The beach.
So we've been selling everything, and this links into watches as well, because I've been selling those like crazy, which I'll get into. Yeah. But more importantly, Chris, how was your Christmas and New Year?
It was good. We did a socially distanced. We did some Zoom calls and stayed safe. Everybody's safe on this side and in good spirits for the new year. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here. We did a socially distanced New Year. Well, we couldn't get any more socially distanced because my family's all in the UK.
That's right. Yeah, you're kind of
and my wife's is
kind of used to it.
There was a lot going on over Christmas sales, etc. But did you have a specific watch obsession you've been thinking about?
Not per se. I think this time, New Year, my watch obsession is getting cleaned out, ready for the new year. I think that's my obsession.
Yeah.
I think I was, we mentioned on the podcast that Christopher Ward chronograph that we were talking about for our year end.
Yeah.
I went and was staring at that pretty hard, but took a look inside and looked at the collection again and made some decisions. So I guess my watch obsession is I'm going to move the Zin 144 Bell & Ross, my neo vintage Bell & Ross that I've had for a couple of years. I think that I'm in a place where it's in really good shape. I think you rubbed off on me, Sam, with some of your sales. It's in really good shape. I can't see wearing it and not. I just don't want to damage it. I'm kind of there with that because it's a 20-plus-year-old watch. The other thing is with the additional bracelet. So I picked up the Zin bracelet, and the finish matches perfectly. But with it on bracelet, I think that it's worth a bit more than what I paid for it, and as well as I've had it checked out and regulated. So we'll see.
I really like that watch, and that watch is. It really suits the bracelet, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of those that I think looks weird without the bracelet.
Yeah. I would maybe put it on. I think I had it on a gray silicone at one point, which looks okay. But you're absolutely right. Like you can't NATO. Interesting though. It has it's a watch that has dual lug holes, so it has two sets. One for the bracelet, and one for the bracelet, and one for either a leather or a NATO. So you could put it on a NATO, but I don't think that it looks good because it's that like square rectangle shape that comes off the edge of it, and it's just designed for the bracelet to fit around it. So
yeah, it's a really nice watch. I think you put some pictures on Facebook, didn't you, as well?
Yep.
So if anybody wants to check that out,
Everyday Mastery on Instagram.
I've been the same as you now. I've been with this move, and also I'm trying to work out. I mean, we'll get to. We're going to cover a few watch collecting goals for 2021, I think. But I've been really looking hard at my collection and what I really like about watches. So I have been selling a lot. Some of the micro brands that I was kept hold of. It's funny, really weird, because I got sent a Luminox watch, and if anybody's not seen my review on the channel, check it out. I've been thinking more about whether I should keep that than I think I did the Black Bay 58, and I don't know what it is about the watch.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
It is. There's just something
about it. Something about it. Yeah. It has that with the gray and the gold. It has it has that like panache that it's not built for purpose. It has some flair to it. But it's definitely a tool watch. I mean, tool watch base. So
yeah, it was. If anybody's not seen the review, even if you're not into Luminox, check it out, because TJ joined me on the review as well. So I reviewed the watch from my point of view, from watch reviewer, what I liked about the watch, and then sent it to TJ, and he reviewed it because it is designed for military, isn't it, and Navy, and then he reviewed it from his point of view.
Yeah, it was a good back and forth. I thought it was an interesting take. It reminded me of if you gave like one of the like special limited edition purple and green G-Shock with the funky color hands, if you gave that to a guy in the military who wears a G-Shock. I mean, it was very much like, well, it's a G-Shock, so it's indestructible, it keeps great time, it has a great light on it, but also I don't need the purple, It was a little bit like that. So it was good. It was a good review.
It's good. I made that distinction between the G-Shock because I do feel like this Luminox is kind of breaking out to that more kind of DJ skateboarder vibe, whereas before they were very military-esque kind of watches.
And I think that's I think that's okay. You can have you can move into that territory, and where it doesn't have to be. I think some brands get flack for doing that when. If you want brands to evolve, you want things to move and try stuff and change things and design language to evolve. That's you're going to get weird camo Bape versions of Zin watches, and you're like, I don't know who would wear this. I would not wear this, but that's how you push design and kind of grow the brand into other areas where, it's not just the folks looking for that, tool watch, sports aesthetic.
Well, Watch Obsessions, I think I'm going to cheat and do a bit of a 2-for-1 here. Okay. We've been watching Netflix as everybody else is over the pandemic. And there was a show that I've never seen it before. It completely missed my radar. It's been going for, I think, probably 8 seasons now. Have you ever watched The Blacklist?
No.
It's fantastic. It's James Spader is in it.
Okay.
And essentially the premise of it is that he's on the FBI's most wanted list.
Okay.
And one day he just walks into the FBI headquarters and he's like,
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Red Reddington. His nickname's Red. I'm Red. You're going to want to arrest me, but these are the reasons why you won't. So then they form this task force around him, and he just basically starts outing all of these like criminal associates you have in his blacklist.
I see.
And you have to get through the first episode, because the first episode is one of those where it was a pilot, so they spent very little on it, and the CGI is just awful.
It's
fine. Just awful. Right. And the whole first season, it's similar to like one of my other guilty pleasures, the new MacGyver, where they haven't got enough money to destroy a car, so then they just make it look like this flame, classic sort of. Because I know
a Ziploc bag of gasoline goes off in the back, and you're like, the car explodes. You're like, not really.
Now that I've been using Final Cut a lot more and loving it for my channel, you can buy those like fire filters and stuff, those sort of fire special effects.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, I'm like, oh, that was a pixel nice. Deck effects casual fire or whatever.
Right, from the drop down list. Select the tool.
But this show is really well written. Highly recommend it. I mean, we're in season 3. Each season is 22 episodes, which is weird for like a Netflix show, isn't it? Because you're lucky if you get 13.
Yeah, or like 9. Yeah,
yeah. But a lot of the obviously, all the characters are in there. But one of the big characters is his watch, which is the Rolex GMT, the Pepsi one.
Oh, I see.
And it's funny being really into watches because he's there like shooting up a storm, fighting people and everything. And you're like, oh, just be careful of the watch. Just be careful of the watch.
What are they trading for? Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then every time he gets like sometimes you'll get like kidnapped or whatever. This isn't a spoiler. This is just like but nobody takes his watch. No, he's like, oh, that's a $25,000. Do you know what that is on the Rolex market now?
Yeah, that's funny. It's just assumed. Yeah, that's funny. That's good.
But yeah, so I've been loving that show. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a decent Netflix show.
And it sounds like it has 1 million episodes, like 20 plus seasons.
Well, it does, yeah. And it's a little bit higher caliber than what you would expect from those type of TV shows. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's been my guilty pleasure of Netflix. And then the other one is I've been having a real think about where I want my collection to go, and we'll talk about that at the end. But I keep coming back to Grand Seiko. I just wish there was like a middle of the road one.
Yeah.
I mean, you either got Quartz at $3,000, or you've got Spring Drive at $5,000.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's not a real in between of those two. Like a lot of the sporty ones, the divers and stuff like that, you're looking down the nose of $5,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think of Grand Seiko? I know we talked about this before.
I've seen them in person, tried them on. I love the technology. I'm not from I still consider it like high art technology for what they do in finishing. And I know that sometimes the finishing of Grand Seiko kind of gets the Zaratsu polishing, and that gets a little inflated, and you have to take it a little bit with a grain of salt because, like, guys, it's marketing, like, it's, but at the same time, if you were to take a look at across a bunch of watches, that's always going to be a 10 as far as it's going to be the best or one of the best finishes on a watch. Yes. The hands, the dial, this sort of stuff, which is frustrating because Seiko itself, entry level Seiko is like, there's a machine just pressing out chapter rings that are misaligned. The technology, I think, is not an issue because the finishing is there, because it's the high art horology of the watch. I feel like they've got sort of two styles where they've got a dress watch style. Maybe middle of the road sports watch is like the snowflake on bracelet. But then you move over to the divers. They're a little chunky. They're titanium, so they're light. They're finished amazing, but little chunky. Little big on the wrist. Felt like a very expensive turtle on the wrist, which I don't know if I want that in a $5,000 to $7,000 sort of piece. I don't know.
As well, I joked about the Die Another Day or whatever it is, the new James Bond one. Is it called No Time to Die? Mm-hmm. The finishing that Seiko's getting on those Grand Seiko cases eclipses that No Time to Die watch.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
But yeah, I'm the same. They've got the 9F quartz, and if anybody's interested in like their 9F quartz movements, Adrian at Bark and Jack just did. He's done 3 just exceptionally well filmed videos on one on the 9F quartz. He had that GMT version. Yeah. Of the watch as well, which is nice, and then he had this other one which is quite nice, but he actually bought one, but he never like fell in love with the GMT version of it. He had that a yellow GMT, and I don't know whether I would be thinking along the same lines as him, although obviously he compares everything, like his specialist subject is Rolex, so he compares everything against that. I love the idea of that spring drive technology.
Yeah, I feel that maybe they're not, for me, the GMT it really looks good. I like the one with the bezel, with the, I think it's got a sapphire insert, maybe, that I'm thinking of. And it looks good, but for me, I think the GMT part of my collection's covered, and I just don't see getting it. I think of a diver as sort of a knockabout beater watch. I mean, that's just me. So again, when I look at a Grand Seiko diver, I think they look amazing, but I don't see it fitting into my collection. And then the only thing that's left, I feel, is like a dress watch, and I have one dress watch that I haven't worn in a year and a half. It's an Orient Bambino that I paid half price for, so I'm not broken up about it. But I would be interested in replacing that with something. I just don't know if I'd go Grand Seiko with it.
And it's funny you should say that. I started wearing the turtle again that you worked on, and I forgot what an incredible job you did.
Thank you.
You did of the hands and everything. I mean, I think the turtle could be one of the. I don't know why the SKX gets so much. Obsession about it. The turtle is by far the most distinctive, and I think wears much better than the SKX.
Yeah, for sure.
I know we had to replace the movement in this one, but so I've kind of been thinking about Grand Seiko again. But anyway, I guess we'll dive into the news stories, and it's been, as you would expect, it's been a very dry week.
Yes,
I think a lot of these.
Everybody's on vacation from their work from home vacation.
Absolutely. So I think the only one that really sprung my eyes, Hodinkey's been doing a good job of like self-grandizing things. So they've done several variants of what, the best articles that we wrote in 2020 and stuff like that.
Goodness.
But the one that caught my eye was where they interviewed, I think it was 30 of their staff members on what watch they'd worn most this year. And it was quite interesting.
Was it the gamut? Well, so this is just folks that work for Hodinkey.
It's folks that work for Hodinkey.
Okay.
So it's like web developers, article writers, and things like that. And there's actually a huge team. I mean, there was just 30 people on that video, but there must be more of them.
Yeah, I can imagine that they're a pretty big operation at this point. I mean, just based on what they have their hands into and their e-commerce stuff and their sales and their social media stuff and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I could think of it wouldn't shock me if they have 20 people that just do videos for them.
Yeah, the funny thing is that there wasn't many Hodinkey limited editions. I thought that was hilarious. I suppose it doesn't need mentioning, but none of them were jonesing. But it was a whole gamut of stuff. Everything from Skagen watches, one of them had. Another one had a Wenger watch that his dad had bought him at Costco. So it was a real mix, but it wasn't all. It was by far not high end stuff by any means.
Yeah. I could see that. Did they do so? It was none of the hosts. It was just like a selection of like 30 folks that worked for them. So
yeah,
I feel like I feel like that you get into that like a car dealership where you're like, yep, there's 25 people that work here, but we don't all like cars. So it just happens that this is a pretty good job. So we're not necessarily connoisseurs of the Land Rovers that we're selling or whatever.
Yeah, so I think that's what it was more. I think it's worth checking out. They did an awful job of the thumbnail. Like, they put all 30 watches in the thumbnail, and when it minimizes down, it's hard to see because it popped up on YouTube a couple of times. And
what is this mosaic of faces? What is this?
I don't know why they did that, because it looked like a classroom Zoom conference or something.
Yeah.
But,
Well, what was the YouTube manager wearing? That's what we got. Maybe that'll tell us the story.
Well, what was weird was their editor, I think it was the editor-in-chief, he wears a Speedmaster, but he filmed his section outside on a phone, and all you could hear was like the background noise.
Oh, weird.
So you couldn't actually hear what he was saying. And I was thinking, guys, the web developer that was sat in his room did a better job of framing it and
funny.
actually talking about and showing the watch off.
Yeah.
But,
that's funny.
Anyway, we'll just pause for a very quick ad break. Hi everyone, welcome back to Casual Watch Talk. So Chris, we've got a couple of topics we wanted to talk about. One was kind of watch collecting goals for 2021.
Yeah, we're also talking about what, we mentioned this a couple of pods ago, but what could you buy for Rolex Daytona money? We talk about Rolex occasionally. They are a traded watch that has probably a $5,000 to $10,000 price tag attached to every one of its pieces because it is the big Rolex. It is the king, and so you have to pay that. You have to pay that fee to play, and for those getting into the hobby, I like to think about brands as a value. And so, certainly you can sell a Rolex for, more than what you paid for it or the same. I mean, it maintains its value. That's great. But in order to play in that club, get your wallet out because you're going to need to pump up some funds there. So I was thinking, what could you get? What could you get for the price of, let's say, a Rolex Daytona? So entry level, Chrono 24. Let's pretend you could pick one up for 15. It would be in rough shape, but I think I saw them for like 17, 23. Jeez.
Well, exactly. I mean, they retail them for 12,950. I think is their retail price, but they are
good luck.
Exceptionally hard to get
good
hold
luck.
of. I mean, they regularly sell pre-owned for like $22,000. It is a fantastic watch. I think I've managed to get my hands on every current version, so the two-tone gold, the two ceramics, the gorgeous one that has like the blue dial with the gold surround, the all steel one, and
the Daytona is interesting. I've heard stories where it's so folks that are on the list for a Submariner, and I was on the waiting list, or I had to buy my wife date just, and then the AD took me seriously and then offered me after a year the option to purchase a Submariner. From what I've heard, you're not getting the option to purchase a Daytona anytime soon unless you have done consistent business. You the AD, you are down there. There has been thousands of dollars exchanged hands. You went and bought a couple of watches for mom and sister-in-law, and then you bought
Calatrava.
Yeah, and then you bought your Submariner, and then you bought another one, and then you're on the waiting list for one, and then this level of opportunity that they're the velvet rope is being held that you have to.
It doesn't sit comfortably.
Right.
It doesn't sit comfortably with that at all.
I know. But that's so for those of you who are going for that, certainly save up, but you're going to spend for the option of buying one at retail. You can certainly turn around and sell it as a profit, but that's what they don't want you to do. They want you to keep it. They want you to hold on to it, which is fine. But that's what Chrono 24 is up for. So you could get your hands on one. But you're going to pay those, like I said, those inflated prices.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fantastic watch.
For that price, though, what else could we get? And I sent Sam a list of the top watch brands on Chrono 24. This is an interesting list, actually. I was looking to see the holy trinity of watches. And we've gotten that wrong. I've gotten that. I'll take it responsibility. I've gotten this wrong before, but it's Patek, AP, Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, and Vacheron Constantin. The interesting thing is, if you look on Chrono 24, I couldn't find Vacheron.
No, it's very telling, that, isn't it, as well? And that Maurice Lacroix as well. Was weird.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm taking this with a grain of salt. Again, we just we talked about thumbnails and the folks running the team. So not necessarily sure that this is the top watch brands. Like someone had to make all these thumbnails for these brands, but you can find Vacheron watches for sale on Chrono 24. Anyway, it kind of led me to think, and Sam and I will talk about it here, of the brands on this top list. What are you drawn to? Where is a ton of value? And we could talk about watch goals for 2021.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did an upload. I think I probably talked about it on the podcast before, but I did an upload probably last year. I need to redo it really, where it was talking about what you would, what you could invest in for a Submariner price in 2010. It's weird because this week I've been selling a few watches here and there on eBay, and I've actually, PayPal have got a new feature now where you can put the money directly into Bitcoin. I don't know if you've seen this, but Bitcoin has gone mental. It's on like $32,000 per Bitcoin, and last year, it peaked at 19, I think, at the start of somewhere in 2018, I think, and then it's been hovering around the 3 to 7.
Yeah, I remember it was like
mental
8
now.
At one point. Yeah,
when it was down at $3,000, if you'd taken that Daytona money and put it into Bitcoin, you'd be looking down the nose of probably $100,000 now,
right.
From like 12 grand, which is funny.
Yeah, so your micro brand PayPal sales are getting you 0.0000 one.
Oh yes, many
zeros. Yeah, you're like that's 8 zeros. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. Well, that's what it's worth. Whatever that shakes out to.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's play the game then. So are we assuming that? Are we going to go off what you could buy a Daytona for? So like 20,000.
I would say let's just say 15 for argument's sake. I also want to mention we had someone in the Facebook group. We were talking about moving up to a brand, such as Rolex, Omega, some of these high horology brands that still sell tool watches, but are up in we're starting to get into the $5,000-$7,000 options here. What is going through your head when you put that on your wrist, and are you worried about it when you kind of walk out the door? And my answer to that, and even in the let's say $2,500, my answer to that is it's what you get comfortable with. And so a lot of people are driving around in Tesla Model S's with the dual motor, hyperspeed or ludicrous speed mode, right? Well, that's $100,000 car, and we're going to pick up groceries, and so no one stops them and says what is it like to drive what is it like to drive a car that is worth half of my first house?
Yeah, and it's depreciated a Speedmaster that as soon as you drove it off the lot.
I know, right? Yeah. Versus some of these watches, you're you could probably maintain. Certainly anything from Rolex, you maintain better than the 15 to 20% you're immediately losing for driving the car off the lot. Absolutely. So yeah, it's what you get used to. So we can bounce around and kind of talk about some of these brands. And
yeah, absolutely. I was looking actually at some of the Daytonas, some of the steel versions of around the $17,000 mark. So the ceramic ones seem to be the ones that have gone really crazy of late, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It is a great. Honestly, it's the few that I've seen. It's a fantastic watch. I couldn't see myself thinking that I got a deal at 26,000 or 30,000. I think at the 12,900 it's achievable, and I think Rolex definitely have secured their. They've definitely managed to manipulate this market big time. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that everybody else is trying to play that game now, and I've noticed just recently stuff's got really expensive. We are guilty pleasure, the Tudor Pelagos. I think when we started talking about them, you could get a used one for 3,500.
Yeah. I just looked. I saw the cheapest one was like 3,200, and that's a used. And I definitely remember you could get new in the box for 3,000.
Yeah, it's weird. I was looking at them the other day, and they were definitely around the 3.5 to 4,000. Navitimer's got expensive. Omega's obviously all over the show with its price at the moment.
For sure.
I've just been doing an upload that I'm going to try and upload tomorrow about 10 things new collectors might not know about the Speedmaster. And one of the points I made was that the Speedmaster isn't just one single watch like the Daytona is. It's actually a load of watches, and I was counting. There's over 100 models that you can buy new that hold the Speedmaster name.
Yep.
For Omega.
Yeah, and as I've said on here before, I've looked. What's it? The Mark 40. The old Mark 40s are pretty cool looking, but if I got my eyes on a Speedmaster, I feel like it would just be one that was unique, that was a special dial. Like I wouldn't go for the basic Moonwatch black dial hand wound Moonwatch. I wouldn't. I would go for I'd go for the automatic. I'd go for something with some fun on it, maybe racing, different colors, something like that, because you have so many choices there to pick from. And like, why be, if you're getting into the hobby, I mean, I think as someone first starting out, it's like, why don't you got plenty of options here. You don't have to be plain.
Okay, so if I had $15,000, just looking at the list they've got here, if I had 15 grand out of this list, we've got basically Rolex, Omega, IWC, Breitling, Hublot, Panerai, Tag, Cartier, Zenith, Patek Philippe, AP, Jaeger, Lange & Tudor, Longines, Zinn, Chopard, Blaupin, Frank Muller, Glashut, Bell & Ross, Gerard Perregaux, Maurice Lacroix, and Chrono Swiss. The ones that I wouldn't look at if I had 15 grand was Hublot for me, no. Tag, no. Cartier, no. I wouldn't look at Longines or Chopard or Frank Muller, Glashut. I wouldn't look at the last three, the Gerard Perregaux, just because those watches don't really speak to me. I would probably first be looking hard at Jaeger LeCoultre.
Yeah.
I like the way they look, and also when we interviewed Dean Bump, he was saying that for him is one of the best value brands.
What were we watching? Oh, the Spy Show. And, one of the characters had a JLC Reverso she was wearing. And my wife was like, oh, is that a Cartier? And I'm like, I don't think so. I think it's the JLC. And of course, we're doing 4K freeze frames. I think that's one of those dress watches that I would have no problem sharing with the wife, Nice silver manual wound JLC Reverso.
Yeah.
For $5,000.
I think probably AP on that list is probably a bit of wishful thinking, is it? Because I don't think anywhere near. I don't think you could get a Royal Oak for 15.
Yeah, no. It was funny when I clicked on this one. No, what was it? It wasn't AP. It was Patek. When I clicked on it, they were like Nautilus from $7,000, and I was like, Oh yeah, okay. I'll pick up two of those, and you're like, no, those are not $7,000. You can't find those.
It's weird that on Chrono 24, isn't it?
Yeah, I think someone didn't set the low price.
Yeah, so I think I'd be looking at Jaeger LeCoultre definitely. I mean, and this is another one where the prices have gone silly. I have always loved that. The Seamaster Aquaterra, the 15,000 Gauss one.
Okay.
I've always loved it. They've gone silly at the moment. They were hovering around the $3,000 mark for a used one. But now they've I think everything like secondhand Omega's gone. All pre-owned watches for some reason have gone crazy. And I wonder in luxury watches, with the exception of maybe Breitling, like where the value pieces are. That you can buy secondhand, because everything's just gone mental at the moment.
Yeah, right. When I first got into this, everybody was scooping up the old vintage Omega, and I don't think that they were worth what people thought they were maybe worth. I mean, like these 1950s, that are like so delicate, don't wash your hands with that thing on. Unless it's has been totally cleaned and serviced and seals, etc. But even then, it's a snapback dress watch. I mean, some of the early Omega stuff out there. I saw a bunch of people collect those, and I agree with you. Like, I think right now, I think in the sort of watch universe, the pandemic is certainly driving this. I think everybody's sitting home and they're like on their computer thinking about cool stuff that they could have. And I think the market right now is definitely a seller's market because of that.
Totally agree with you. It's funny I was just looking at Omega themselves, because that 15,000 Gauss is up at 4,000. There's a one on bracelet on leather for 4,450, which I think is way over what that's worth.
Yeah.
But I've just saw the No Time to Die is on here, brand new version. So on Omega, they're $9,500. These new. There's a new one on Chrono 24 for 8,000.
I see that one. I'm looking at that one right now. Yep.
Wow. So that's $1,500 straight off the top there. I even think that I honestly even think that I think $8,000's too much for that watch, honestly. When you can buy the standard Speedmaster, the standard Seamaster, not titanium, same watch for 4,000.
Yeah, there's two of them on there for about that price. So that seems to be, again, this is not what's sold. This is what they're asking for.
Yes.
But it's telling that it's already much down below retail for something like that. Whereas, other Omega stuff, I mean, like that Snoopy, if I had, and this is also something that we should talk about, and we remind people on the channel, it has to be extra throwaway money here, kids.
Yes.
So the rent is paid, the car is paid, you're warm, fed, and dry. You got 10% in a 401k. You got plenty of excess money in case an emergency happens. And then you have some windfall where you get a bonus or you make some money on the side. That's the money. That's the money. And right now, my fund could not afford a Snoopy Speedmaster. But boy, what I think you would be, if I could do it, I'd scoop that up. Because I think that watch it's never going to be less than that. It's going to always hold its value.
Oh, it will never. You're totally right. That watch will never not be cool.
Right.
Like, it just looks incredible, the job that they did of it.
Like, even if they sell tens of thousands of them every year, I just feel like in 20 years, you're going to pop that out and they're going to be like, oh, we're just going to give you a top price for this.
Yeah,
it's definitely one of those ones. Yeah,
especially with that complication. I also think, if I had like 15 grand as well, I really like, after I did that interview with Ulysse Nadan, I really like their 42 millimeter blue diver that they have. You can get them around the $5,000 mark.
Yeah,
I always love the Omegas, the Skywalker as well. I really like that watch. If they started hovering down around 3,500-ish, I think I would be all over one of those.
Yeah, it just keeps. I know, right? They're just in that $4,000 range, and they're just like, and I know astronauts are paying like $1,800 for them. I'm just like, I want one. But yeah, for me on this list, I feel besides the JLC, the brands that I think I'm kind of next, like dress watch drawn to. That'd be tough to say.
I like the Jaeger Polaris. I think if I had 15 grand and it all had to go on one watch, I might look at the Polaris, the Jaeger Polaris chronograph. Watch that they have.
Okay.
I really like the look of that.
Yeah, it looks good. Yep. And they have that as a chronograph as well. They have the 3-hander and the chronograph at Polaris.
Yes, I just love especially the blue dial. They also have the I don't know if you could get the Memovox one for 15 grand. I think it's probably around that.
Yeah, is the world time too?
Yes, it has a world time.
Okay,
yeah. It has an inner rotating world time bezel.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful watch.
Do they do an alarm watch?
Yes. Yeah, they have the standard Polaris with a Memovox watch. In fact, one of my my boss at work has a Navy SEALs Jaeger-LeCoultre diver watch that also has the alarm in it. Titanium.
See, there you go.
It's incredible.
Yeah. You can you guys. I see one here for 18. So not I mean, certainly breaking our little limit there, but they also have the like a 3-hander Memovox alarm. As far as horology goes, I think that's cool. I going back to selling one of my watches, I think about the fact that the 144, the Zin 144, the Bell & Ross GMT, I feel like it's an Instagram darling, but I don't, like it's not necessarily for me. It feels like it's for everyone else. And like it, I post like, I'll just do a wrist check. There was one that was like made my top 9 for 2020. And it is like me and like a Waba grill and like a chicken veggie bowl. Right. And it just happens to be like the background was like this green, like made this bright green, lettuce green wall. And I just did a wrist shot like that. It's like, it's 100 likes just instantly kind of thing. And it for this stuff, I feel like it has to do both. It has to be for me, but also kind of tick that box of like, hey, I'm a legitimate, like, serious watch enthusiast kind of thing, and a mechanical alarm watch is definitely ticking that box.
Yeah, it's funny that was my thing with the Black Bay 58, wasn't it? It wasn't equal measure. It was more on the side of I liked it because what it said about me as a watch collector rather than me actually really liking it. Right. And it just went on the wrong side of that more towards. Yeah, exactly. And I like showing off with it instead of actually liking it itself.
Yeah. No, I definitely got that feeling with that one, and it just and you like I would go to events, and I can't wait. By the way. We're close. We're getting there. We're almost there. Probably springtime, and we'll get back out and go to watch events. That will be delightful. Looking forward to that. But when I would go to watch meetups, and that's one of those ones that's like, wow, you get that like, oh, what is this? That kind of reaction to it, and it's fun, and it's got a little backstory to it, which is fun. But
I think you lose that with I think you lose a bit of that with Rolex, don't you? Because it's so, you see so many of them, there isn't that like air of mystery around like a weird because I remember the first time I went to that watch meetup with you, and there was all sorts of like interesting stuff. The first time I ever saw that Favre Louvre watch in person was at one of those events.
Yeah. I mean, it's to some extent. I mean, I think the Rolex fans are certainly up on the subtlety and the nuances of each. This was aluminum bezel. This isn't. This is the last of the sapphire, or this is the last of that movement type. And they can kind of quote that. And that's fun, and I think that's fun for them because it's yes, it just looks like a Submariner, but do like if you saw a red mill sub Submariner, would you look at it and know that like holy shit, dude. So,
or the Fat Four, and all the other little nuances.
Yeah, so it's almost that sort of like hidden little gems that kind of come out that because it's all sort of the same look, it has the same look, versus a bunch of different brands that have interesting pieces from different brands.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Yeah, I'll take it back.
All right. You can keep it.
I think I went with Jaeger. I think if I had to spend the whole $15,000 on a watch, I think I'll go with Jaeger. Would be my choice.
Yeah, I think you got me. I think Jaeger's really one of the top ones. I don't know how I feel about Zenith.
Yeah, Stephen on the Facebook group, he has the Defy and he also has the El Primero. He's a big fan of Zenith. I like them. I like the look of them. I like the the history, the El Primero movement, but I don't know whether, if I had the cash in hand, whether I would go to that as like I couldn't live without it.
Yeah, I feel that knowing that they used to make the movement that was in the Rolex Daytona, so back in the day, this is another, again, a quirky Rolex fun thing. I think that gives them the recognition. I do like a lot of their pieces, but I just don't know if it definitely. I've got that feeling like I don't know. For example, I was looking at the they make the Chronometro. It's very like the Type 40 military bicompax chronograph. Definitely like a Flieger style. Gorgeous looking. Reminds me of all the military Zinn chronograph, that style. And as you look at that price, you're looking at that $5,000 to $7,000 land, and then I start thinking like, well, how many Zinn can I buy? even in that price range, you're like, yeah, but could I get a funky vintage Zinn, that was in great shape for $3,000? That has much more of a story than I had $5,000 burning a hole in my pocket.
I suppose we should talk about also the Walbrook skin diver that we talked about last time that I dropped off at yours, that we were thinking of converting to quartz.
Yeah, and then we can move into kind of watch goals of the new year. Go for it.
Yeah, so I dropped that Walbrook off with you, and we were going to convert it to quartz, but now I'm having like an existential crisis about whether we should do it at all. And I actually sold the quartz version of the Walbrook as well.
Okay. I have not had a chance to take it out of the box and put it on the workbench. It's on my short list here. Now that the holidays are kind of over.
Would you mind demagnetizing it first?
Yes.
See what happens, and then we'll go from there, and then you just keep all the other bits.
Nice. Okay. All right. And then, for 2021, you can get a mechanical Walbrook back. That has
we should definitely talk about watch collecting goals for 2021 to finish this, to round this off.
Yeah, I think so. So,
do you want to kick it off?
Yeah. I still think I would pick up a Pelagos.
Yeah,
I think that would be on the list. And I'm sure once the latest sale has gone through, I'm sure that'll be hot to do that. I speaking of money, we kind of talked about this a little more, but I consider, once it's into a watch, that's just fun watch money. So you can just move on to the next thing. So maybe the Pelagos. We talked about the X33.
Yes.
I feel like that would have to go to a special trip. So if we were going to vacation in, what were the islands? Where were U.S. Virgin Islands? Is that where we're going?
Yes, the U.S. Virgin Islands, yeah.
Which great interview with the folks down there. Yeah, maybe it was a special trip, and I could pick it up for no tax plus no import would be something like that. But I think I'm still at a good place where I feel like I thinned the collection out. Stuff that I'm not wearing, I gave away. I mentioned my Bambino. If an opportunity arises, I would replace that with a 3-hander moon phase dress watch.
Oh, right. Interesting.
So so something from what did I look at? Longines, JLC, probably out of the price range. Frederic Constant. Who else did I think? Blancpain is out of the price range. But something that's nice, that is when I put it on, it's the dress watch.
Yeah, I like that Frederic Constant. It was a brand that I didn't really know a lot about, but I started looking at it this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's been a weird year for me. I've sold quite a lot, but with it being my 40th birthday and then my wife sort of agreeing to let me have a watch, but then she kind of gave me the poison pill with it, which was, but you've got to keep it forever, basically. Right. It's actually caused me this, I'm having this internal crisis of, I really have to like a watch that I will keep forever.
Yeah.
And that's what's given me pause for thought. If it was a kind of, get a cool watch for your 40th and, no strings attached kind of thing.
Right. I think
probably would have picked one by now.
Yeah, I feel like that's almost like that's how you could get away with it. For me, that's how I could get away with it. Is it would be the awesome, cool, it'd be the awesome dress watch that I would wear on special occasions, New Year's Eve, out at the party, weddings, that sort of thing. I mean, I think when we were talking about our one watch challenge, TJ was talking about having an appropriate watch for the occasion. And as much as I don't want to fall into the trap of you need a diver, you need a chronograph, you need a dress watch, you need a, what I mean, like the categories. I don't want to fall into that trap, but at the same time, I would like a nice dress watch, and I could even go gold.
Oh, nice!
I think with something like that, where it would be a maybe, but something like that where it's a special piece, and and you're only wearing it for special occasions, that kind of thing.
That's the thing. The double-edged sword with this keeping a watch forever is I've got to predict what I might like in a few years. Right. I think that's what's giving me pause for thought, because my tastes have changed so much as I've got really into watches. I mean, I never would have thought that I would have liked that Breitling B1 as much as I do.
Right? Yeah,
I love that Breitling B1.
Yeah,
I love it. I've got it on a Tropic at the moment. I'm really loving the high precision quartz. I'm actually finding it as interesting, the thermocompensated quartz, as perhaps I find interest in the mechanical watches as well, and also the accuracy of it is like insane. Mm-hmm. I just reset it again, actually, and I'd not reset it since I came back from Florida in November, and it had gained 2 seconds in
goodness gracious
3 months or something.
Goodness gracious.
It's incredible, really.
I had my 103 chronograph on for New Year's just because it was kind of comfortable, whatever. I have it on that rubber strap because we were not partying or anything. And I looked down and I was like, oh, all right. So yeah, we're a minute and a half fast. I was like, when was the last time I think I kept this wound. I think it's been running for like 2 weeks. so I was like, ooh, I got to take some time out of this. So yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. This is one of the things that I probably didn't realize this at the time, but I think I was getting a lot of anxiety about my mechanical watches not being that accurate. I mean, I think you got the brunt of it privately.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know. I think that's what I like about the B1.
I do take some responsibility for causing your accuracy anxiety, as I have my time grapher behind me, that I can flip on at any moment and kind of check and be like everything. I just regulated my wife's Stova, excuse me, and it was running about -7, and I said that to her, and she was like, "Who cares?" And I was like, "You're right. But I care." so it's like, it was definitely like a tacit acknowledgement of like, yes, I'm totally weird, and yep, no, I'm a weird watch nerd, so go ahead and give me that, and I will take 7 seconds off of it.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, my obsession with the date. For work, I just permanently have like my entire calendar on one tab because I'm in meeting after meeting. Right. So there's never more than there's half a millisecond between me thinking I want to know the date and me actually finding the date in another way that's not on my watch, but I just can't. I've just got to have it on the watch.
Yep, exactly. It's just one of those things. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's been really interesting. And definitely let us know on the Facebook group what you would get if you had Daytona money. What we were saying, Chris, 15.
Yeah, let's say 15.
Well, happy New Year to everyone.
Yes,
and we'll see you next time on Casual Watch Talk. Thanks, guys. Bye.